Welcome back to Cask and Point. Today we are trying the most expensive whiskey that I've ever tried here on the channel, and that is Double Eagle Very Rare. So the story of Double Eagle Very Rare started a few years ago when Buffalo Trace asked themselves, how can we make more money?
What inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab right next door to the original?
Money!
And so they decided to take Eagle Rare 17, an incredibly popular Buffalo Trace Antique Collection pour that people go crazy for and that sells for about $1,400 on secondary markets, though the MSRP is $125. And they said, what if we aged it an extra 3 years? And we bottled it at 101 proof, and we charged 16 times as much because it's now 3 years older. And so that's exactly what they did. And so this bottle has an MSRP of $2,000. Most of the releases before this were actually 90 proof. And so they only recently bumped it up to 101, which makes it on par with Eagle Rare 17. So actually for a while, Double Eagle Very Rare was 11 proof points lower for just 3 extra years. And most people agreed that Eagle Rare 17 was actually just an overall better pour. But now that Double Eagle Very Rare is actually the same proof as Eagle Rare 17, people think they are much more similar. So today we're going to try Double Eagle Very Rare. We're going to see what the hype is all about, and we're going to see if this $2,000 bottle MSRP is worth commanding actually still around double on secondary markets, around $4,000. Let's get right into it. On the nose here, the thing that jumps out the most is a medicinal cherry that's very reminiscent of normal Eagle Rare. Now there is a very rich oak on this, a kind of oak that you aren't really going to get on many other things. There's clearly vanilla on this. This clearly smells like a Buffalo Trace product, which is interesting. It really hasn't lost its roots on this pour. There's definitely some baking spice on this, more than I recall getting on Eagle Rare 17. That rich oak is really nice. It's almost so oaky that it's like a tobacco note on this. Wow, that smells really nice. Now I will note, I only have a half ounce here, and this half ounce cost me $75. So that is as much as I was willing to get for the sake of this review. But wow, I mean, this just smells incredible. A lot of rich oak, really getting into some nice, deep caramel decadence on this as well. Let's take a sip. Wow, that's interesting. So the oak is really rich on this. And then it gets into a nice caramel, a nice medicinal cherry. Really tastes like a very solid $150 Stag Junior pour on this one. I mean, this is great. Wow, for MSRP, I would run away from this so quickly. I mean, what the heck? So, I've tried Eagle Rare 17 a few times, and I've always thought that it was actually really similar to some Stag Junior batches that just taste a little bit older. Namely, Stag Junior batch 17 and 18, I think, are really solid pours. And honestly, Eagle Rare 17 just isn't that much different from it, because at the lower proof, the age just isn't as strong on it, and so it really does compare a lot to a whiskey that's about half the age, but 30 proof points higher. This is nice. I will be honest. I can only make fun of this pour so much. No, I can make fun of this pour a lot. This is ridiculous. It smells like a rich medicinal cherry. That medicinal cherry isn't any different cherry than I would get on a Stag Junior batch, or I would get on, honestly, a good Eagle Rare store pick. Which, I mean, all of these bottles are so much more worth it. You are spending $3,000 for the case for this if you're buying this for $4,000 on secondary, and then you're paying $800 for the bottle, and then $200 for the whiskey. I wish I could appreciate this old whiskey more, because I've tried Eagle Rare 17 a few times, and I've just never found it higher than low 8s. And this is really going to be struggling to get much higher than that. It is nice, and I will say I'm really enjoying smelling this a lot more than I enjoyed smelling Eagle Rare 17. And I think because now, as it develops, I'm getting a little bit more of a maraschino cherry, which is nice, and it's not as typical of like a medicinal cherry note, and that really rich caramel, and all in the backdrop of an incredibly rich and deep oak. But is it all that different from Stag Junior batch 17 or 18? No. Let's take another sip. I'm going to try to stretch my half ounce to 3 sips here. On this sip, it was a good bit sweeter. But that finish, short to medium. Now, this isn't the first pour that I've had of the night. I did make sure I had a warm palate for this, but I haven't been drinking particularly high proof whiskeys either. But this is not impressive. This is low 8s at best. And obviously it's possible this sample maybe over the course of traveling and sitting in the sample jar, maybe it just is aired out too much. I will say with these really funky old expensive whiskeys, it's possible these kinds of things happen. But no, I just don't think this is that good because it's not all that different from Eagle Rare 17 from the few times that I've tried it. I've tried it 2020, I've tried 2022, and I've tried 2023, I believe. So I've tried a few years of Eagle Rare. I haven't tried the 2024 yet. Hopefully I'll get a sample of that soon and I'll get to try with you guys here on the channel. But man, this sucks. Let's take the final sip here. That might be the final time in maybe a few years that I get to try Double Eagle Very Rare. And I'm okay with that. On further sips, it becomes a little bit more drying towards the mid and late palate, which this might sound odd, but I actually kind of like because it's giving me anything more than my boring medicinal cherry and caramel and oak. Like, the only thing that is separating this from, honestly, like a good Eagle Rare store pick is going to be that drying, oaky note towards the end. But the finish on this is short to medium. I think the flavors are good, but is this worth $4,000? No. Is this worth $2,000 MSRP? No. Is this worth half of it? $1,000? No. Is this worth $500? No. I think you know where I'm going with this. I'd probably pay about $150 for this bottle. It's good, and maybe I am making fun of it a little bit too much. Maybe, let me know down below in the comments if you've tried this and you've gotten to enjoy it and you think it's that much better. To me, this honestly tastes really similar to Eagle Rare 17. I really don't see much of a difference. I've seen a lot of people compare them, and maybe one day if I get another sample of this, I will compare it to Eagle Rare 17. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys would want to see that. But a lot of people pick Eagle Rare 17 pretty regularly over this because you're looking at a 3-year age difference. Whiskey doesn't do that much in 3 years when it's 17 versus 20. When it's 2 versus 5, oh my god, it's a different world. But at 17 versus 20, the whiskeys just aren't that different. It's still not old enough to drink, and wow, it is just not that good. So, take the last little sip here with you guys. I'm going to rate this an 8.2. I think it's solid. I think it's interesting. I think I'd pay as much as I would pay for Stag Junior Batch 17 or 18, which is about $150, $200. So, anyways, I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Save your money on this release, please. It is so not worth it. Have a lovely rest of your day. I'll catch you all on the next one.